All right, so Google search trends are showing that real estate market crash are the highest search volumes that they've ever seen in history. So I want to go over if these searches are warranted or people are just panicking. I'm that Agent Kelly. I talk about real estate, I talk about real estate investing, and I talk about my local market here in Vancouver. If you get any value or entertainment from this video, all I ask is that you thumbs up and subscribe. Let's get into this video. An article has just recently come out saying that the search volumes for a real estate market crash are the highest that they've ever been in history, and I just want to unpack this a little bit further. First off, I guess I'll start out by saying that it would make sense that search volumes for real estate market crash would be the highest they've ever been in internet history, considering that back in 2007, the last time we saw something like this happen, the internet was still kind of in its infancy. Not really, but kind of, sort of. The internet was out and people were using it, but YouTube and Google weren't as widely adopted as they are today, and people didn't even have smartphones back then. They had flip phones, where you literally had to pay for every minute that you were on the internet. The bulk of the people using the internet back then in those days were the younger generation. Like, I think my parents were still using Ask Jeeves at that point in time. And also, the population has grown quite substantially since 15 years ago. And secondly, today, the second anything happens in the financial markets that's big enough, everybody should know about it. Everybody does instantly know about it because of social media. Whether you're searching for it or not, you're going to see a video or somebody repost something on their story, and everybody obviously knows 500 realtors who are all reposting this stuff. It is nearly impossible to not know what's going on in the real estate market, even if you're like 8 years old. And I know back in 2007, if I think Facebook existed, but it wasn't very adopted at those times. If you weren't on social media and you didn't care about real estate, you probably didn't know what was happening in the real estate market. But because you're hearing about it every single day and there's a constant stream of negative news articles out there that are reaching everybody, obviously there's going to be more people interested, and now they can just pull out their phone, hop on Google, and Google real estate market crash, whereas before you actually had to drive home and get to a desktop computer before you search that into the internet. Now let's talk about the market actually crashing. Is it going to happen? I personally think that there's a very strong chance that it could happen. And it really just comes down to how much more aggressive are the central banks going to be in their rate hike approach. And how long are interest rates going to stay as high as they are right now, or possibly even higher? If they were to raise the interest rates another 1% from where they currently are right now, I personally feel like we would see a lot of forced selling come spring of 2023. We may even see forced selling right now at these current interest rates. And this could definitely push prices down maybe another 15%, possibly even 20%. And if we went down another 15% from where we are currently right now, I think that's when I would start calling this a market crash, as we're already down 30% in some areas across the country. Now, is the market going to fall through the basement floor and go down 50-60% in some areas like we saw in 07, 08? From peak prices? I personally don't think that's going to happen. Number one, inventory is still extremely low. I'm currently working with buyers right now. It's hard enough finding a buyer that can get qualified at 7.25%, but you finally do get a buyer and inventory is so low, you can't even find anything for them to buy. Historically, Vancouver has needed about 18,000 active listings to cause any substantial sustained downward pressure on prices, and right now we're at about 10,000. So we're 80% below where we need to be to cause sustained downward pressure on prices if we just look at history. And to add to that, the cavalry is not exactly on its way, with over 80 developments across the Lower Mainland on hold right now. We will see the supply constraints from this happening maybe a year down the road from now, when all of these townhomes and single-family detached homes should have been built. 2 years from now, a year and a half from now, when all of these condos should have been built. People should have been moving into these, renting these out, listing them on the market for sale. None of that inventory is going to be there. As prices come down, it becomes less attractive for builders to build, and that's typically why Vancouver has moved in 4-year cycles, is because of the supply constraints happening from the build cycle. And to add on to this, immigration is at an all-time high. The government is giving about 500,000 people PR every year, and I think there's like 150,000 people actually immigrating to Canada every single year. And there's probably about 60,000 people coming to BC. They need somewhere to live. With builders stopping the building and more people moving here, that should eventually set a floor under prices, assuming that something catastrophic doesn't happen. So we would basically at some point need to see, for this crash to happen, a bunch of forced selling start happening, which is definitely possible at these interest rates. We just don't know how bad it's going to get for some people. But all of the fundamentals currently in the market are pointing to a floor being set under prices at some point. We just don't know what that price will be. So in conclusion, this article does not matter at all because, of course, internet search volumes are going to be higher. This is the first time that anything like this has happened, basically since the internet has been adopted widely by everybody across the globe pretty well. And will the market crash? Maybe, but there are a lot of fundamentals working against this narrative right now. So if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.